and I have known each other since 1960s, actually, when we were both working for iOS.
Why make me so old?
We're both working for Bertie Cartel, iOS in Paris.
Why, all my bad experiences, you coming telling the people it's unfair. Get off to a bad start.
He doesn't really need that cane. He's pretending.
Look, I put on my banker's suit today just to look more respectable because I saw they were all bankers here yesterday. And I thought I better try to look one, because otherwise nobody's going to believe what I say.
Was that when you were working with the Rothschilds or the Mafia?
Yeah, that's it. Yes, both. Now, you're not finished?
No.
Okay, you take time away from my speech.
So we used to drive up from Paris to
Le Havre.
Rouen. First,
you're not far from Rouen, yes.
Yeah, Rouen, which is a port. And we'd go into the port and convince the officers on the ships that they needed mutual funds. And we actually did succeed once in a while, especially Ole. Ole was good at it.
Yeah, but it was only $25 a month program, so there wasn't,
$25 a month.
For an international financier, it's not very much, but that's before we were international, Steve.
Anyway, we had some really, really great times.
Yeah, very good time.
Growing up,
That's the most important, having a good time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here we work too hard, don't you think so?
We do. Most of us work much too hard, and that should stop. Okay, so Ole has worked with all sorts of important financial institutions in Europe. He's traveled the world with his wife, Susie, everywhere, virtually, that you've seen in a National Geographic special on television. Ole's been there with his wife.
Sure.
Susie's no longer with us.
What's happening?
I'm laughing.
Are you fainting?
I'm fainting.
Oh, you're thinking. That's a good thing. I know we're supposed to be, people say, what's that, AMI, what's American Monetary Institute? It's just a think tank. I said, can you really?
I think I better turn this over to Ole at this point and let him continue with this process. Please welcome Ole Mackeprang.
Well, I've been here for 2 days now. I'm finally getting welcome, It's normally when you arrive. So, but I just cannot really stand up too well anymore, and I can't walk. I'm a nomad because I've been to so many places. I go all over the world. You know the difference between a nomad or an explorer and a tourist? You know the difference? No? The tourist comes back, he has less money than when he started. The traveling nomad, or the gypsy, he has more money when he comes back than when he left. Yeah, that's the essential difference. But you can only talk about money here. I know that's the only thing you know, so I have to refer to the original subject, right? Okay? I called my intervention here today because I know you're going to have a big problem within a month or two, and it's called election time, right? That's a problem you have every 4 years. It's too bad it's so often because people have no time to think about it. And even if they couldn't, they wouldn't, because people don't know what the hell they're voting for in the first place, and they don't know what they get, even with the best of intentions. No, I don't really want to sit. But not before I'm tired, please, Jamie. This is the question. I called my intervention to be or not to be a Democrat. Now, that's not going to make me popular if I say anything against democracy in Jefferson's country, Yeah. nobody's going to believe that there's something wrong with democracy, because it's the only solution we have found in the past ever to solve the problems between politics and the people. You know what democracy means in Greek? Steve spoke Greek in the old days. You can still remember some Greek? Yeah, because he worked in Greece. He knows the origins of, that's why he writes about money, because the Greeks also like money, right? But they're incapable of handling it. It's very unfortunate. Now, it's a magic thing. It's one of the important things in life. There are more important things than money, obviously. But I'm not trying to sound like Shakespeare when I said to be or not to be. So, although one of his heroes is Hamlet. He lived in a castle in my country, in Kronborg, in Helsingør. But Shakespeare never put his feet in Denmark. But the Danes put their feet in England under King Canute in the year 1000 or before that, right? About year 900 or something like that. My father was an archaeologist. I used to know history very well. And in my family there, everybody is a doctor in something. Doctor in economy, doctor in archaeology, Dr. Field, we call it, doctor in philosophy. Everybody, even my daughter. I'm the only completely uncultured guy. I only knew about money for years. And that is, in most people's mind, a bad subject. Particularly, I live in France, and the French, they hate money. Even the president said the other day, you know what his name is? I forget his name. He's not very important. Hollande, yes, he has a Dutch name. Holland. Yeah. Now, there's a Dutchman here. No, yeah, he's right there. So we have taken your, they have taken your, I don't even have voting rights in France, so I can say we have done this, we have done that, because I'm not French. I never asked for any citizenship. I want to continuously be a nomad and be able to go to every country in the world and put my feet without permission, without visa. When I started out in the United States, for the first time I was here, I go to get my visa renewed in New York, and I see a room full of people. Now here's nobody, but that was an enormous hallway, and here were hundreds of future migrants like myself. And I go to the one sitting on the first row, because I thought he'd been there longest. I said, how long when did you come here? He said, yes, I've been here, sitting here for 2 days waiting for somebody to give me the necessary paper. I said, thank you very much. So I just walked out. And I said, oh, I'll come back as soon as I found the job, because I had no money at all. So I go looking for a guy called Bruce, who was a designer. I met him in Denmark, some years before that. And to find a job, you always have to know somebody. I never answered an ad. But it always goes through people who like you, who knows you, who can recommend you. You know, that's a way to find work. So, and I always worked when I went somewhere. I never asked anybody for money either. I'm not a beggar, but I know what it means even to sleep out. I met a very snobbish woman some night in Spain. We go for winter sport in Sierra Nevada, and that's where the king goes. So all the snobs goes there. And she's sitting there at a dinner party. She just came back from the United States, and she said, oh, but America is a wonderful country. Wonderful. She spoke some English, and I speak Spanish anyway, but it's a wonderful country. It's really great. I said, where have you been? She said, well, I was on Long Island. You know, I have some friends there, and we stayed with them, and they're very nice. I said, I do not doubt that, but you don't know America. You don't know a country if you haven't slept out on the ground. I've been on the road with Jack Kerouac, if you know that name. So I know what I'm talking about. When I know a country, I know the downside. I know the poor people. I have studied real science, not theoretical, blah, blah, blah. So I came to Paris. I had 17 cents in one of my pockets. Old cents. It's not since the new francs, because today, not euro cents, they're worth 5 times more. No, 6.5 times more. I had no money at all, so I arrived at the metro, hitchhiking, at the last metro station at Port d'Orléans, it's called. Anybody here knows Paris? Yes, well, you know Port d'Orléans? That's where the metro starts before you go to the center. Now it goes further out, but in those days that was the last station. And I go to a guy there and I said, sorry sir, I would like to buy a metro ticket from you. Can you take free cigarettes in exchange? Because somebody had given me half a pack of cigarettes for free. He was a nice guy, the one who picked me up before that, 100 kilometers before town. And then I said, will you please, is it possible you could sell me a metro tickets for free cigarettes? He said, yeah, there's no problem, but I give them to you. I said, no, I'm not a bicker, no. In those days it was a dishonor. You have to, when you're an immigrant, you have to work for your money. Anyway, 17 years later, I was running a bank, a director. Yeah. That was, and for no matter what bank, Steve knows it, Bank Rothschild, and I've been teaching bankers for years. But I never known what I learned here. Nobody's ever taught that to the bankers. I just told them how to sell their product, that's all. How to calm the public into these awful instruments, right? I quit that a few years ago and switched, instead of having a private clientele, as a financial advisor, you know. You can't advise anybody to anything. You can't predict the markets. As Galbraith said, who can predict the unpredictable? And that's in fact what all financial advisors do, right? Yeah, we have to make a living, you know. In France, we call it pousse au crime, pushing people to do the wrong thing, you know. And that's called financial advice. So that's not easy to be a financial advisor if you want to be honest about it. You better change profession. That's why I'm no longer a financial advisor. So now I do something else. I started writing 10 years ago. That's more pacifistic. But I'm writing against the system. And they call me on the front page of my book. Where's my book? It says, Travels of a Financial Anarchist. Now, who the hell wants to buy financial advice from a financial anarchist? Nobody. So I had to stop. But I sold a lot of my books. Anyway, so I'm more interested in poetry, like you, than in money. I'm sorry to say. But I'm still interested in money as a phenomenon, intellectually speaking. But not for me. I'm not rich because I have never been really interested in money for myself. Fortunately, I always made enough to be able to afford to say, or not to be interested. Because the money in itself, like as I was gonna before, when we started talking, the French President Hollande, I forgot to say what he said the other day. I heard that in the television. He said, I don't like rich people. Now the guy, he's a socialist president of France. He has 3 apartments in London. He has 2 enormous properties in the south of France. So he has some kind of money, but he doesn't like rich people. Now how is that? But that's not the case. That's not your problem here in America. People still love money, you know? Whether they have some or they don't have it, they still admire people with money. Unfortunately, because now they admire also the bad guys with money, no? I'm not naming anybody because I don't want to make myself more popular. I want to have a visa next time I come back here, because we don't need a visa anymore anyway. Now, and I got the immigration. I'll tell you another story about immigration, because I know everything about being poor and down in London and Paris. No, that's H.G. Wells, no? That's not me. But I have had that kind of life. So, I get lost when you talk too much. You don't say anything. You just keep yakking, right? Huh?
Politician's way.
Huh?
Politician's way. They're saying a lot of things.
Politics?
Politicians. They say a lot of things and they don't know.
Yeah, I could have been a politician in my country, but my country was so perfect. There was nothing doing, and they will never change. They will never listen to anybody. They in Denmark, in my country, you know, they're so happy with themselves. They're so happy with the system that I met the former finance minister, who everybody always hated. His name is Torkild Christensen. I can use his name now because he is dead. So somebody invited me for dinner with the former financial, what do you call it, Minister of Finance. In the United States you call it something else. Minister of Finance. Minister of Treasury. Yeah, Minister of Treasury. And so I was invited. Finally, I never met him in Denmark, because you don't need people, important people from your own country. When you travel, you do meet them. But if and when they're back home, they're too important. They don't want to talk to people who are not. They don't have time or whatever. So he was available, and we had a nice lunch with him, and he was fairly nice. And I started criticizing the country, because I always criticize wherever I go. People normally say, you're not in your own country, go back out. If you're not happy, you leave, you go back to where you came from, right? Get out of here. Now, you're not allowed to criticize when you're an immigrant. No, you should take whatever it is. Why did you come here in the first place, you know? And what are you complaining about? No, I'm trying to do something for the world, and it's only through criticism that you show, first of all, your sincere interest in their problems. If you start criticizing, you take the risk, you're leaning out, you know, like in the train. Are there any Italian here? No, so you don't know what it means. E pericoloso sporchesi. It's Italian, it means, it's written under every window in the train. If you take a train, it's dangerous to lean out of the window. And I'm always doing that. I've been doing the wrong thing for years. So I did not become rich, in spite of the people I worked with. Like Steve says, Ole even worked with the mafia, right? And in fact, I did not know that when I was recruited. It was somebody who recommended me. I never looked for jobs. I was always recommended by somebody. So I had a lot of friends, and they have always been good for me. So friendship makes the world go around, okay? Love makes the world go around, but friendship also helps a lot. So I'm very much for friendship. You see, I know the same people 100 years later. No, how long is it? So what am I getting away from? Yes, I get away from question number 2. And question number 2 is, I have a friend called Andrew Waxman. He's American, but he changed his nationality to become a French. And I said, isn't it bad enough to be American? On top of it, you want to be French? But my wife was French, so she was the gérant de la société. How do you say it? She was running the company, because officially he couldn't run his own company. He did all the work, obviously, but he couldn't run his own company because he did not have a work permit. So I said, look, let me help you to get a work permit, because I'm good in convincing people. So we go to see at l'Hôtel de Ville, in the town hall, and there was a guy who gave away who gave the order for the work permit. So we see him, and we sit down, and I said, look, before we start, you start asking questions to my friend here, because he's looking for a work permit. You doubt that's why we're here. Why does it take so long? You tell me. And he said, did you see the deux escargots? Did you see the 2 snails when you came in? I said, what? What do you mean, the 2 snails? Yes, these 2 women you see going by in the there was a window there. You see them go in the courtyard. You see them go by the window. You see the speed with which they're going around here in office time. That's why it takes so long. So here we had a real bureaucrat who was quite funny. who had sense of humor, and that's very important. Now, I kept my sense of humor for a lifetime, because when you've been 50 years in the financial business, if you had no sense of humor, you're a dead saint a long time. I can guarantee you that. So we both answered an ad, and that's where I met Steve, in that company with Uncle Bernie. And the ad said, young man with a pressed suit and sense of humor. I said, that's me. I'll apply for it. And we both met up in Geneva in the financial school and sat next to each other and became friends. And I always kept my friends for lifetime. Now, unfortunately, most of them are no longer there. It's like my former girlfriends. They were lovely. And even my wife is no longer there. Nobody is there anymore. I don't know. This saddens me very much. I'm not happy with the loss of my friends. From time to time, to see them in television, if I see some old films, because I've known a lot of people doing my wife always also doing, she was very beautiful, and I have some pictures of her. You can see her catalog as an artist. But she worked in movies also to make some extra money. So she worked with John Cassavetes, she worked with Mike Nichols, she worked with some of the star conductors, what do you call them, metteurs en scène, the star directors, yes. And she was quite successful. Actually, she was making more money in Italy than I made, because it was difficult. The Italians are quite difficult to sell investments to. And I was one of the ones that started out the first mutual fund in Italy. I started out the first mutual fund in France. I started out one of the first mutual funds in Deutschland. Neckermann Anlageberatung. Kennst du das? Where's my German friend? He's not here today. The German Huber? Isn't that him? Huh? Yeah, he sits right there, but he's not there. Anyway, so I'm one of the pioneers. I'm not talking about the one who invented it. They were Scottish, you know. They've always been interested in money. But I'm one of the pioneers in the mutual fund industry, which has become a huge, it's billions and it's trillions of dollars. And for our company at a certain time, we had 40,000 financial advisors. 40,000 over. And we had, I don't know, $2 billion coming in per day or something like that from the entire world. Now, that made me a lot of friends also, and permitted me later on to go back in all the countries where I had my former friends, my former colleagues, when the company went down, because unfortunately some crook came in and took over. People were unhappy. It's a long story. I can't tell you the whole, but you can buy books about it. One is called, Do You Sincerely Want to Become Rich? Who doesn't? Now, I don't want to become rich anymore, because
You don't need to.
What?
You don't need to.
No, why don't I need it?
I don't think you need it.
I could contribute more to you if I had more money. Yeah, to help out your association. Because
Money, I don't think you could have done more than we've done so far with a lot, just with money. Because a lot depended on having some of the right ideas.
No, but that you have already. Lots of people have lots of ideas, but they have no money to start it, no money to go through with it, no money to resist. It's very, huh?
You're right.
That's the problem. Thank you. Of course, Mitch. Now, I've always been as usual. Yeah. So, next, what am I doing? What am I interested in now? I'm interested in the only thing that has lasting value. Now, if you have some money in the bank, that's not going to last in whatever currency is. Now we have the euro in Europe, and one day the euro is going to be worthless. Any currency, whatever it is, wherever it's from, has been devalued so many times when the years go by that it has no lasting value. We all agree on that, no? No matter what your theory tells you, but money is not capital. That's what I called my book in English. In French it's called L'argent n'est pas capital. Money is not capital. What do I mean by that? So money, what is it? That's the first question. A journalist asked me that question one day, and my answer was spontaneous. I said, money is a medium of exchange, and that's all it is. It has no intrinsic value. It has no value in se. In itself, it has no value. And particularly with the time, and particularly nowadays where interest rates have gone so far down, even the little capital I have, I can't live with it anymore because it doesn't bring me any income. Because you need maybe capital, but you sure need income. And I've always been self-pensioneer. So I don't even have a pension. Yeah, because I've always been, I've been running a bank. One of them was called Banque de l'Union Parisienne. It was a bank that was behind the Suez Canal when they built it in the old days. And anyway, that was before me, huh? Fernand de Lesseps. I don't know if you heard that name. The one that built the Suez Canal long before the Egyptians. We have always given away. We've given away everything we possessed. We've given away to the Saudis you think they ever drilled for petroleum? You think they ever lifted an axe or a spoon or anything? They're not doing anything. They're just sitting in the sand and waiting for us to do the job. That's smart, no? So, and same thing with many things. Anyway, I'm not knocking anybody or being against anything. Oh, I have lots of time.
Capital, Wally?
It's not capital. Only I met a German artist. No, where are my German friends here? Any Germans here? You speak German? Geld ist nicht Kapital. Nur Kunst ist Kapital. Wer hat das gesagt? A German artist has said that. And I met him in the Beaubourg Museum 20 years ago before he died. And he became a world-known artist. Joseph Beuys, B-E-U-Y-S, Beuys. No? Have you heard about him? Kennst du den Namen? He was a professor in Düsseldorf für lebende Künstler. Okay, so Beuys, I took his title for my own book because I admired him because there's so much truth in it. What he meant with what he said, if money is not capital, what is it? Well, it's a medium of exchange, but that's not good enough either. Why is it? It is the only thing which is our capital, the humanity's capital, is what we have left when we're all dead. It's our art, our creative, while they are alive, it's our creative potential that makes it go on and on and on. If you don't have that, you're dead before you start. So your creative potential, whether you're a poet or you're a writer or you're anything which is creation, has future, maybe, not always, but if you're good. And that, who is the most expensive artist in the world? One of them, just to take an example. You know Leonardo? Yes. You know where he died? You know where he died? He died in France. Why did he die in France, Leonardo? He was Italian, no? So why did he have to emigrate also? Why was he unpopular? Because the Italians got rid of him. So he had to go to France. In France you make all the poets, all the thinkers, the only people who can think, who can create, like Victor Hugo. You've heard about him. Victor Hugo, Les Miserables. They make films with him and now they're in. But they've been out while they were alive. Now, Victor Hugo had to go and live in Guernsey. You know what Guernsey is? A small island, tax-free island, in the island between England and France, where he lived for 18 years. I've been in his house. Well, he wasn't there because I'm not citing him because I know him, because I know most of the people in the art business. Of course, I didn't meet Victor Hugo. But that makes me think, it's the only real value we have left is when we are all gone, there will only be some statues left here and there. In the countries they're bombing out now, in the Middle East, in Syria, in Iraq, what is the only value they have left? It's some statues, some fractions of temples. It's a part of their art, and it's a shame because they're selling it to finance the war against us, against other Europeans. So it's a bloody shame, but that's what it goes for. But that's not the fault of the artists. It's what they left, was left over of culture. Now, culture is capital, not art, not money. Money has no value. And I'll give you another idea of why. So I've become an art collector, contemporary art. I have arranged exhibitions for many live artists because the dead ones are already known. They don't need me. They have this. They're sponsored by the state wherever they're from. They're in museums, have lots of money, or their things are being sold by auctions. And I have been protecting a whole lot of artists. I'm taking around Sweden, Germany, Denmark, everywhere outside France, even in France. I've arranged exhibitions. So they give me their works to thank me. I never took any money away from them. I never asked for a commission. That's the way to become popular, because they love to. Artists should not give away their works for nothing, because that will prove that it's worthless. So never give a painting away, but I worked for it. Again, I'm not a beggar, so I have a small art collection, which is not worth very much because they were all my friends and they have not been dead long enough to be very precious. You know. I have, but they haven't. Now, I'm not talking about Van Gogh, but I'm talking about people whom I have known and who are still alive, or somebody that died not so long ago. You know Lucian Freud, for instance? I hate his paintings. I don't have any of them because they think they're horrible. It's naked women on a couch, you know. They're absolutely ugly. But he's the his grandfather was the father of psychology. You know Lucian Freud. That's the one I'm talking about. He was Austrian. And he lives in England himself. And I never met him because I hate his paintings. Ethically, I don't like the sight of them. I hate ugly women. Now, so I think art should be beautiful. And my wife made some, you can see her catalog. I can make it circulate so everybody can see what I mean. And she was very beautiful herself. So, yes, let it go around while I talk so we have something to hold on to, so they see it's not all empty talk. Right? Because talk is silver and every art is gold. Now, but I know 5 painters who sold recently, within the last 2 years, their artwork for over $50 million for one single painting. Now, who are they? Who sells very expensive? Does anybody know anything about the art business? No? You've not been thinking that's the best investment in the world because it can go from nothing to a hell of a lot. Nothing is worth as much as a painting of Van Gogh, but that's not for sale. I never met him. He was dead a long time ago. Van Gogh, yeah? You should know him. Yeah. He's one of the ones I like, but it's not ugly. But he only sold 2 paintings all his life, although his brother was an art merchant. He was absolutely unsellable. And now he is the best, the most expensive, one of the most expensive artists in Europe. I have known a guy called Francis Bacon. I'm not talking about the philosopher of 2 centuries ago. But Francis Bacon is selling a triptych. It means in painting in 3 parts for 150 million euro. I can say dollars because 10% more or less. What the hell? There's only a few million. So I have spent an evening with a guy called Fernando Botero. Happens to be the most expensive painter in Colombia.
Okay.
Any Colombianos aquí? No?
Only, we have to move on to the panel now.
But they took my time away when I was speaking. I didn't get to talk.
If anybody wants to talk about Van Gogh, they can talk about it at the panel.
Okay, will do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron.